How's your bottle? Oh, he smashed it in! It's Berbatov! It's brilliant! United lead with 4 minutes to go. What a ball to pick him out! And what a finish! It's flying! What a turnaround by Manchester United! Ronaldo! It's 3-2! Nobody does it better than Manchester United! Welcome to Manchester United! Anthony Martial! What a save! That is brilliant! How has he reached that?
Hi there and welcome to the pilot episode of the United Devils podcast. My name is Arjun and over the series of podcast episodes we will be discussing everything Manchester United and the Premier League in general. In this episode we will be discussing the transfer window and more specifically the transfers in and out of Manchester United. With me today are two of the United Devils writers, Aryan and Suraj. Why don't you say a little bit about yourselves, guys?
My name is Aryan. I'm 21 years old. I've been a United fan since I was about 6, so yeah, excited to get this podcast going.
Hi, I'm Suraj. I'm 21 as well. I've been writing for the United Devils for almost 2 years now. Been supporting United for, I don't know, for a long time actually. It's been a part of my life. So yeah, let's get into this.
Thanks guys. So to start with, it's been a bit of a barren transfer window at the moment with Daniel James and Aaron Wan-Bissaka the only confirmed signings. It might be a bit of a stupid question, but how do you feel the window's gone so far?
I don't think it's gone well at all, considering the season that we just had. Because Spurs and City, they just signed 2 players in 3 days, I guess. And they're already miles ahead of us. So, yeah, and Solskjaer wanted the deals to get done before the preseason, and I think they leave on tour in the next 3 days. Yeah, so just watching Woodward haggling around with these few millions here and there is just so frustrating, you know. It happened with Mourinho as well, with the Perisic 4 million here and there, and this and that. Okay, don't get me wrong, I'm still happy that we have James and Wan-Bissaka because we need a right back for, 4 or 5 years now. And James is just a young potential. But still, we need some 4 more top players to get us back competing for the title again next season. And I don't think we'll get those players.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like we had have gotten those 2 players signed up like a month ago, we would have been like, okay, this is off to a good start. We've addressed 2 positions that we kind of needed to address, and then we would have been like, okay, because there's still plenty of work to do in positions that are like of more importance, like maybe a striker, a centre midfielder, and a centre back were like the most important positions. But I feel like Wan-Bissaka was needed because, as Suraj said, we haven't had a proper right back for years. Like before Raphael, probably Neville, and then just like a blank of like a proper right back. So, and he is nowhere near his ceiling yet. So we don't know how good he can be, and he's already so good defensively. So that's a very good signing. And then James, I like him, but from what I've seen of him, he's very similar to what we already have. But the players that we have are very inconsistent too. So I feel like he could make that position his own in the next few years. And I feel like Martial is kind of on like his last chance maybe this season to show that he is the guy that we need on the left-hand side. So I feel like it's off to a decent start, but we don't have that much time before the season, and there's still a lot of things to do.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. So now, on the other side, it's also clear that some players need to leave, and some players actually want to leave. 2 of them that might be on the move are Romelu Lukaku to Inter Milan and Paul Pogba back to Juventus. What do you think about the potential sales? Should we start with Pogba?
Yeah, I think if we're ever going to go back to the old United, the glory days, we can't be getting rid of the best players in the world if we have them. So Pogba, Lukaku, De Gea, all of those kind of players, we should be building around them. So even though there's all this speculation and Pogba saying that he like Madrid is like his dream and all that stuff, I still think we should be doing everything we can to keep him. And I hope the chat that he has with Ollie is good before they go out to Australia, because he's nowhere. He's not even like near his entering the peak of his career. I'd say maybe like another year or 2 before he's at that age where he might be playing his best football. So I think, and he showed when at the start of the season when Jose was here and he made him the captain for the start for a few games at the start before the fallout. He showed what he was capable of. So I think if his head is in it, I would like to keep him because he's the kind of player that we need to. He could lead us forward.
There is also the other option of keeping him for another year, see if he shines, and if he doesn't, Juventus, Real Madrid, PSG, they'll come calling and we'll still get a decent amount of money from him.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that is true. And I think we don't really have that much to lose because he's still under contract, so we're not going to lose him on the free.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's worth a shot if he's and like Ollie has a good relationship with him, so if he can convince him, like sort of the thing that Fergie did with Ronaldo in his last year before he went to Madrid, to like just stay and win with us, and then let's see how it goes from there. If you want to leave, but just stay and win with us this 1 year and see how it goes. So I hope they can come to some sort of a compromise.
For me, it's quite simple. If you don't want to play for the club, just leave because it's going to be another agonizing season for the fans. But obviously, losing a marquee midfield signing is going to kill our creativity in the middle because the Van Gaal boring Man United started because we didn't have that creative spark in midfield, and then we finally got it with Pogba. Now losing him again will be a whole cycle that I don't think anybody wants to get into right now. But again, it's a bit of a weird conundrum to have, because of his comments, which is clearly disrespectful to the club. So I thought we should sell him. But if we sell him and we get 150 million, do you think Woodward would put that money into buying, say, Neves or Madison or whoever? I don't think so. I think he'll end up signing Sean Longstaff or someone. Nothing against Longstaff per se, but you can't replace Pogba with Longstaff, obviously. But if we do replace Pogba with, say, Madison, Neves and Fernandes, I wouldn't mind. But I don't think we're going to do that either.
That's my biggest issue with United is that we just struggle when we sell the players. We struggle to replace them. So I have no confidence that if we do sell Pogba and we get obviously over 100 million for him, like we're not going to go and buy somebody who like fills in that gap. Like, we haven't replaced Keane, Carrick, Scholes. So what makes it? I'm just not confident that we will go and replace Pogba. That's my biggest fear of losing him is that we're going to just have that another hole in the midfield going forward.
It's completely fair. Similarly, Lukaku, he scored 42 goals for United so far. Big goals as well. And he's also scored 113 Premier League goals for Everton and United. Should he be allowed to leave Inter for, 60 odd million?
See, I think similar to the Pogba situation, this one really isn't on the club. Lukaku's been flirting with the Serie A for how long now? 2 seasons. But I think I'm one of the minorities over here who actually likes Lukaku. I think what United did wrong was we didn't utilize him properly. If you put the ball in the box for Lukaku, he's going to score. But if you give him the ball outside the box and tell him to create, we saw what happened. But I don't really have a huge issue with Lukaku leaving because it seemed like we have his replacement lined up with Sam Ben Yedder. But Lukaku offers something that none of our other forwards offer. While all of our other forwards are about pace and dribbling and all, I don't think anyone is that strong or, their presence is felt in the box as much as Lukaku is. But again, if he doesn't suit Ollie's style of play and we are committed to giving him time, then I think we should get Lukaku over the wage bill.
Okay.
I actually agree with the fact that we have been misusing him because, like Suraj said, when you give him the ball, there is like 9 out of 10 times he will score inside the box. And we've over the past few years we've been struggling with the service. That's what we've been still with the like. There's been the crosses they're never hitting their man. So I feel like if he gets the amount of assists that he needs, it shows over the 2 seasons he's got 40 plus goals. So he is a 20 goal a season striker. And last season when we had all those injuries after the PSG game, I think that was, or just before it. Yeah, no, just before it. He was scoring. He's had like 3 or 4 games in a row where he scored twice. So he is reliable. And I think, and there isn't many strikers like him. Like if we got Ben Yedder with the rumors, for example, he's very similar to like a fox in the box kind of striker, like a Chicharito that he will finish but like who's going to give him the balls to finish them off? So I think the only issue is that he has been flirting with Inter, that he wants to, like you kind of get the feeling that he wants to go. But if he wanted to stay, I wouldn't disagree with keeping him. I think he's a useful player.
Yeah. I think Ben Yedder's probably going to be used, if he does come, he'll be used as that kind of Chicharito impact player with Rashford starting. But should he start, or should we, have someone who scores goals a lot more prolifically than Rashford has done?
I think that depends on the game that you're trying to approach. If you need a cheeky finisher in the box, then you've got to play Ben Yedder, because Rashford's decision making is quite questionable. Whereas Ben Yedder, I haven't seen him play a lot, but from whatever I've seen, I think he's quite smart. If Rashford's one-on-one with the keeper, he'll smash it in. Ben Yedder will chip it in. That's the basic difference that I noticed between the two. So that showed me a difference in thinking. So it depends. If you want to break a team in a counter-attack, then Rashford's the first choice. Whereas if you want to build the game around with hold-up play and build-up play and all, I think Ben Yedder is the man you look to play.
To add on to that, I think that myself, I was reading something a few days ago when Rashford signed. Kind of we forget that he's still only 21.
Yeah.
And that that kind of the difference between him and Ben Yedder is that Ben Yedder is he's made his name on being a finisher, whereas Rashford is still kind of young to develop that. And I agree that his decisions can be questionable, but I think that his best years are still behind him, and I think going forward he should be our first choice striker, not playing him out wide and stuff. And I hope they don't do that with Greenwood too, because they've started to bring him in playing out wide. Strikers should just let them play in their top preferred position. So I think going forward, Rashford will be the guy. But if we brought in Ben Yedder and used him in that kind of a Chicharito super sub role, just a clinical finisher, I think that would be a good move.
Yeah, we could use him as a one-season player. 35 million, nothing in the market. So maybe one season, if he gives us a good 20-22 goals, I'm more than happy with it.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Now to the main topic, the 4 transfers United should make and the 4 players that have to leave. So we'll start with the 4 that should leave, as then that makes the potential signing choices easier, as it will fill in some holes. So who would you prefer left this club in the summer?
So for me, I have my 4 are Jones, Rojo, Matic, and Sanchez. So for me, I would like us to split Jones and Smalling, because I just feel like both of them have this. They're just carrying this kind of just a mess behind them of that era of them two being at the club and the failure to replace Vidic and Ferdinand. So I would like to split them up, and I feel like Smalling for me has been the more reliable one over the years, with all the Jones injuries, and then Jones is I feel like he's more mistake prone whenever he does play. So I would keep Smalling as a squad player and get rid of Jones. And then for Rojo, we were talking before we started recording that he's probably played maybe 10 games in the last 2 or 3 seasons, if that. So he's just too injury prone, and he had that nice spell under Mourinho as a fill-in centre back, but I just don't think. I think he's also one of those players that needs to go and get this chapter of those signings off our books. And my third one is Matic, and I feel like a lot of people might disagree with that one, but after that first season when he came in, when Mourinho signed him, it looked like he was the perfect fit to play in front of the back 4, and he was breaking up play and starting counterattacks. But ever since then, I feel like he's just kind of slacked off, and he hasn't been doing that. He hasn't been winning the balls. He hasn't been starting those counterattacks, and he's just. I feel really irritated when I see him get the ball. He just goes off to the left foot all the time. He's he never dribbles with his right foot. So I feel like I like him as maybe a role player, but he just walks back into the squad for every manager when he's fit. And so I feel like we need somebody more energetic to play that just in front of the back 4 role, like what McTominay did when he was injured, when he was winning the balls by going into tackles and stuff. So I think I'm not going to be mad if Matic stays and plays a squad role, but I would like for him to be moved on as well and bring in somebody better. And my last one is Sanchez. And I was feeling really optimistic when we signed him because I felt like he was coming at the right time, like in his prime, leaving from Arsenal after molding himself into a Premier League player, prolific goal scorer, and it just hasn't worked out for whatever reason. I don't know what it was, and he was played in his position and in the system that suit him. So I'm just not sure what went wrong. If Manchester that much different than London to live in, I'm not sure. Or maybe actually it is, since Mourinho was kind of feeling unsettled too. He didn't want to move to Manchester either, so I don't know. But yeah, Sanchez, I just think I wouldn't mind if he got a chance in preseason because he looks pretty good for Chile in the Copa America. But I think maybe it's best if we move him on too and give players like James more of a run, or Chong, for example, or bring somebody else in.
Well, with Sanchez, I agree. He got played out of position. I think when he got brought in, he got played at number 10. He got played on the right when he prefers to play on the left. But then with Rashford and Lingard and Martial all coming in, doing pretty well in that point in the season, I think you just you pushed your player who you think is world class to play in another position which they have done before, but they could thrive in, and he just didn't. It just didn't work. Then pre-season he was pretty decent actually. Before this season, he did well against, is it AC Milan and Real Madrid?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he got a bad injury, kind of maybe 2 games in, and then just didn't click from that point onwards. So, it's unfortunate. It can't be helped, but then at the same time, every week you're losing £500,000. So, the sooner, and there was interest from both Milan clubs, Juventus, earlier on this transfer window. So I think, I agree. I think sooner as we can get him gone, the kind of more like we can get De Gea's new deal, we can get more players in, maybe De Ligt getting some more money, etc. Suraj, who are your 4?
My 4, okay, so the first one is Phil Jones. I think he perfectly personifies our Manchester United banter era. I think he has more own goals than... Has he even scored for United? I don't think so.
Not since...
No.
He took corners.
I think he scored for Ferguson.
Oh.
That was the last time he scored.
So, I think Jones' record just speaks for itself. Initially, he was injured all the time. Now when he plays, he can't play properly. He's cost us so many games. I don't think I'm going to talk about him anymore. Lingard is my second option. To be honest, I don't know what he does well. People say his off-the-ball movement is amazing, but it doesn't matter as long as your on-the-ball movement is as bad as his. He scores 2 goals in 1 game and then he just disappears for, I don't know how many games, maybe months. And obviously his off-pitch antics, okay, that's a discussion for another day. I'll keep it to football for today. I don't know, his passing, his shooting, his crossing, everything's questionable. So I think we're just carrying him on because of his homegrown quota and whatnot. Third is Young. I don't think he'll leave, but I want him to go because, again, he is something that personified what went wrong with our season last year. He couldn't cross, he couldn't defend. Looking at Young in the tunnel, I don't think any opponent gets intimidated. So that's something that needs to...
He's no Roy Keane as an inspiring captain, isn't he?
No,
The fact that he is a captain is crazy.
Exactly. A captaincy, Manchester United captain is Ashley Young. Then the last one is Rojo. I don't have anything against him personally, but he just plays very little for the amount we're paying him. We need to get him off our wage bill first. So like Aryan said, we could fund other deals, or we could, use it as leverage in salary negotiations with other players. And again, his injury record is pathetic. Every time he plays, he gets a red card, he concedes. Against Arsenal, he conceded that own goal. I think he plays far too little for what we're paying for him. So those are the four I'd go with.
No, that's fair. And actually, just the stat that I've just quickly checked up is in the Premier League, Phil Jones has scored 2 goals. He's also scored 2 own goals. He's definitely scored at least another one in Europe. So
Yeah.
he's outmatched himself on own goals there.
To be fair, though, to his goal scoring tally, though, our set pieces have been some of the worst I've ever seen over the past few years. So
That is true, yes.
I think our centre backs' records from scoring from set pieces are all going to be pretty terrible.
All right. Well, thank you for that. And now we're on to the more interesting part. Which players would you sign and why? So we'll start with Suraj.
Okay, so to keep it a little interesting, I haven't gone for the names that we've been linked with a lot, but these 4 names will definitely change the dynamics and look and feel around Manchester United for sure. So the first name, I don't think you followed my Twitter a lot, but if you have, you'll know that I rate this player very highly. That's Christoph Piatek.
Oh yeah, is it
Mad.
Milan?
Yeah, AC Milan. He moved clubs midway. He was in Genoa, and he scored 30 plus goals. And his eye for goal inside the box is too good. He just senses his positioning. If we sell Lukaku, I think we should replace him with Piatek for sure. Next up is Toby Alderweireld. 25 mil release clause. Whether Manchester United pulling power is good enough to get him, we need to keep that aside initially. First, we need to trigger the release clause, then we can get to talking to him. Anyway, I think instead of signing centre backs like De Ligt, Maguire, we need someone like Alderweireld who's played in the league for years. And currently, we don't need young centre backs, we need old centre backs because we need experience. We need someone commanding the back line, yelling orders to players, just mark your man or whatever. We don't have that. And even if you put Lindelof with Bailly, Lindelof with Smalling, you don't have that leadership in the back like we used to with Vidic and Ferdinand. Then my next name is Kieran Tierney from the Scottish League. Now, I know Arsenal are in for him, but if we sign him at left back and, like we're pushing Delort to compete with this position for Van Bissaka and Shaw and Tierney, I think that's a very healthy competition on either side of the flank for us. And so if you look at my previous transfer, that's 15 million for Alderweireld and Tierney plus 50 million for Van Bissaka. So we're getting 3 defenders to completely remodel our defense. So I think that's a pretty good deal for us. And yeah, Tierney won't be as impressive as he is in the Scottish Premier League because he gets far too much space to make his runs and do all his crazy tricks. But I don't think he'll be that bad either. He'll be pretty good. He'll fit right in there and give Shaw a tough time.
He's a great crosser, isn't he?
Yeah, definitely. And again, if we keep Lukaku and we have him delivering crosses from the left and Delo from the right, we might have a good source of goals. And the last name, I don't think it's been mentioned at all in the transfer window as of now. That's Ceballos from Real Madrid. He wants his career sorted because of all the new signings that Real have made. I don't think Zidane has him in his plans and remember his exact valuation, but it was definitely lesser than Bruno Fernandes. He'll also bring in that Real Madrid mentality that they play with. I think that'll be very good for us. While everyone's going mad about Madison and Fernandes, they are great players, but I think Ceballos can be a dark horse in this race as well. So yeah, those are my 4 names. Mm-hmm. But we obviously need more than these names to actually get competing again.
And I think maybe Ceballos is actually a decent option. I think he's 25, 30 million probably?
Yeah.
Yeah, he'd be decent.
I wasn't too sure about the valuation, but he's definitely cheaper than the likes of your Madison and Bruno Fernandes and whatnot. And these are players who, Ceballos, the kind of players that have been doing it season after season, whereas I honestly didn't know who Bruno Fernandes was until his breakthrough season last year. Madison as well, but he's much younger.
Well, here's a name I'm gonna bring up. I'm gonna bring James Rodriguez onto the table. I think he's got a release clause of about 40 million. He's 28 years old, I believe. Colombian captain. He's been around for ages. He scored plenty of goals. Would you take him as like a stopgap for maybe Tielemans or Madison for another couple seasons?
If we played that system with a designated number 10, I wouldn't mind seeing him because I feel like he's not small, so I don't think he would be impacted by the physicality of the league. And I feel like he would be like a bigger, more dynamic version of Mata. But the thing with United is though, whenever we do play some sort of, I feel like I don't know if that's something that's designed pre-game where the players are always all over the place. It doesn't seem like we hold shape very well. Like whenever whoever is set up to play on the right wing on the team sheet, he's never there. The right wing is always empty. So the players are always like. So I just don't know if we played that system with like a designated number 10 that is supposed to create. But then I feel like that he could crash with Pogba because that's where Pogba wants to play if he stays. So I know, but I would gamble though. I think like that would be a decent gamble for that money. He's got a goal in them too.
Definitely an upgrade over our current players, but then again, like Aryan said, if we're ready to commit to a particular system where you're bringing out his traits and complementing it with everyone surrounding him, then it's a smart buy. Otherwise, I think it's going to end up like Sanchez if you don't use him in the system.
Actually, I'd like to ask Aaron, what's your opinion on Toby Alderweireld? Because 25 million be a decent purchase, but would he go to United or would he try and go back to a Champions League team?
That's actually a no-brainer for me that we haven't actually triggered that release clause. 25 or 30 million, that's ridiculous. That nobody has done it yet. That's because I feel like there was a point, I think it was a season or two ago, that he was regarded as probably the best centre half in the Premier League. And then he had some injury problems and it's kind of gone a little more quiet, but I would love if he came. He would be probably my first choice above all the rumors that we have been linked with because that's that leadership. He knows what it takes to play at the top of the Premier League, as he did with Tottenham. And I think he could be a good partner for Lindelof as well to kind of mold him into the leader that we need because Lindelof is only young. So, yeah, the thing is about the pulling power that with the Europa League, will those players want to come? But I feel like the same with the Pogba thing, although people say that it was Mourinho, why he came when we were in the Europa League. But I think United still have that pull that players do want to play with the badge on their chest. So I think if we are genuinely interested and if we went in for him and triggered that release, I think he would talk to us. That's for sure.
It also comes down to how Pochettino would want to use Davinson Sanchez next season. If he wants to push him to a more advanced role, then it's probably time for Alderweireld to leave because even Foyth will be fighting for that spot.
Yeah.
So we could use that. Again, those are long shots.
So before I go for my forward, I'd like to latch on a little bit to that Ceballos point that Suraj brought up because I was watching the under 21 Euros a little bit. And I was actually thinking, why is there there is no rumors of any of the top clubs being in for him? And I only just found out that he's looking for a lead to leave Madrid. He was looking really, although it's the under 21, so it's not like the real deal. He was looking really impressive in between the channels, and he asks for the ball everywhere. He's one of those players that's so comfortable on the ball to pass it forward, pass it out, control the tempo. So I feel like, although obviously he's not Pogba, he could be that kind of a player that could slot into that role where he leads the team like the team does, as he said. He puts his stamp kind of on every play. So I feel like that's an underrated player.
Like David Silva.
Yeah, just like David Silva. I feel like that's an underrated player that nobody's really looking at right now for some reason. Like there's no rumors of him going, and apparently Zidane doesn't really see him in his system. So I think that could be a sleeper for somebody to go in for him. So moving into my four, I have Koulibaly from Napoli. And I can't say I watched him too much before we started getting linked with him. And then I started kind of looking at a few Napoli games and looking at his highlights. And I feel like he would be, although he's still young, he's 26, I believe, right now. I think he would be like a perfect partner for Lindelof going forward, because he reminds me of Bailly, but more composed, bigger, and more durable. But he's similar. He's not afraid of a tackle. He wins aerial duels, and he seems like that kind of a leader. I don't know if you guys saw his article on Players Tribune a few days ago. He seems like his head is in the right place. He just wants to win. So I feel like that could be he reminds me a little bit of like a mix between Rio and Vidic when it comes to his mindset. That's the kind of a player that our dressing room has been missing, because most teams do have those leadership qualities starting from the back, and we have been lacking those for a while. So I feel like he could be a good addition. And if we are going to spend so much money on a player like Harry Maguire, I think I would rather add more and go for Koulibaly, but we'll see what happens. Then next I have Ndidi from Leicester. So that kind of intertwines with me wanting Matic out. I feel like that would be a direct replacement for me. That's the kind of a player that I would like for us to have playing that number 4 position, or that number 6 position rather. He's like he does remind me a lot of Kante. That was a good replacement by Leicester to go after him once they lost him. He's a line to line, energetic. He can go forward, but he intercepts, tackles, and he's good on the ball too. So he will start your attacks from the back. And I feel like he's just a complete opposite of what we have there right now. Even McTominay, who I like at that position, but he's just a more dynamic, more athletic version of him and of McTominay and Matic. So I feel like he would be a good addition to just play in front of the back 4. And the other one that's my most unrealistic one, but it's my dream signing for United right now after seeing him last season. That's Son from Tottenham.
Sorry, on Ndidi, I was going to say, if Leicester are playing such hardball with Maguire, do you think they'll even let Ndidi go without maybe even getting something in return?
Yeah, no, I don't think so, because Leicester consider themselves as like as the 7th, the best of the rest out of the top 6. I think they want to be that team, so I don't think they're in business to losing players. So I don't think, like there's the rumors about us getting Maddison are out there too. I don't think that's that realistic either, to be honest. So, but if we were going to raid Leicester, as it seems like we are, I would like if we could pluck out Ndidi out of there. But I don't think they will be, and if they would be open to this, I think we would get, as United do every transfer window, we would get ripped off pretty nicely.
All right. Well, yeah, I mean, I agree. I reckon maybe probably Longstaff. I mean, he's not, a well-known player. He hasn't played that much, but I reckon because of Newcastle's current situation, Perez just moved to Leicester for 30-odd million. He's been outstanding this season. Basically single-handedly beat Man City for them, and he's gone. I reckon Longstaff will probably be maybe get him for cheaper, and maybe try get Jamal Lascelles.
My only issue with Lascelles is that he has been playing so regularly, and it just doesn't seem like he was anywhere near the England system, the England setup at all. So that kind of, I feel like that kind of gives me a hint of a Smallingness about him.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah,
that would be a decent. Although to be fair, to go on to Longstaff, I'm not gonna lie, I have seen one game, and that's it of him when he just broke into the Newcastle team. I can't remember who it was against, but I was really impressed. He reminded me a lot of how Carrick used to play.
I think Solskjaer wants to play McTominay a bit further advanced, play him where Herrera was playing, because then Fred was always dropping into that anchor position, which I don't think suits him, but he did all right in it. But I think Longstaff's probably his choice, playing him, maybe McTominay, and then whoever, maybe Pogba or whoever comes in, Bruno Fernandes or something. Suraj, do you agree?
Yeah. I think in the same mold as Lascelles, the Issa Diop rumors came out. So maybe I don't think we'll be able to get Lascelles and Longstaff in the same window, obviously. But again, there's a Mike Ashley factor in there that we could probably get 2 or more from them if we slightly overpay. But again, you need to ask yourself the leader that you need at the back, because even he had his breakthrough just a couple of seasons ago when I think the season where we finished second. That was his breakthrough of sorts.
My second last was Son, which is that's dreaming, but because Daniel Levy wants no business with us clearly looking at the Alderweireld thing, and let alone giving us probably their best player. Yeah, he really impressed me when Kane got injured and they seemed like they started playing better without him, like more fluid when it was him and Lucas in the team. So I feel like now he's really settled into the Premier League and both-footed player, and he could play any position in the front four really. So I feel like that would be like an ideal addition to our pretty lackluster offensive play, but I just don't think that's going to happen. And then my last was Ben Yedder, which I added recently because I actually haven't had him on my mind at all until the rumors came out that were pretty much agreed personal terms and just waiting for Lukaku to go or something like that. Mm-hmm. So as I said earlier, I just think that he is that kind of a player that I don't think he would start every game per se, but he could be that kind of a player that he will get you 20 plus goals in all competitions purely because he's that kind of he actually reminds me of Piontek a little bit. That kind of he will finish, he will get those half chances and he will just put them away. So I feel like that would be a valuable addition to the team if we got him, regardless of whether Lukaku goes, because we haven't had that many strikers in recent years. It's been just Rashford and Lukaku really as out and out strikers for the past couple of seasons. So I don't think 3 strikers will be too much for their rotation, considering how the positions vary between our forward players too. They all play on left, right, center. So I think that could be a good move.
Yeah. So what I'll do quickly is I'll just put the two together. So we've got Christoph Piatek and we've got Wissam Ben Yedder. So if we were to compare the two, would you rather get Piatek, who'll probably want to start more games, or would you get Ben Yedder as the super sub?
Oh, that is interesting actually. If we get Piatek, we absolutely have to build the team around him. We have to build in such a way that Pogba's pinging in balls to him and he's converting. But then that leaves us with the what would Rashford do situation, because I still think Rashford has a lot to offer and he could be a main striker in the next few years. He did have a really bad patch towards the end of last season, but he can still. But he's just 21. He has so many years left. So the age gap does bother me a bit. So if we're looking at it from the age perspective, then Ben Yedder is the better option. But if you're just going to go in and be ruthless and relentless, it's going to be Piatek. But I think Solskjaer loves Rashford, so I don't think that's going to come up.
For me, I think looking at the point of the careers that they're both at, if we got Piontek, it would be that he would want to be the main number 9, the main guy. Whereas if we got Ben Yedder, he would be the kind of guy that I think he would be okay with not playing every game, and he would come off the bench and be that kind of a spark that we need. So I feel like, yeah, and Ollie does seem to really like Rashford, have a soft spot for him. So I think next season is going to be him as the main striker. And I think what doesn't get brought up enough is that he did play a lot of the second half of the season with a knock, I believe.
Yeah, he did after the Liverpool game.
So I think even though maybe it was not as bad of an injury because he was able to play, it definitely must have affected him in some way. So I think him coming back in healthy, I hope he can hit the ground running in preseason.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you. I've already asked you, Aaron, but Suraj, do you think your 4 signings are realistic expectations for the summer?
Oh, not at all. Because Piatek just recently signed a new deal with AC Milan, so he's going to cost a bomb, which we can afford, but I don't think a board will pay. Alderweireld is very, very doable, but we first need to look away from the young British talent that is Harry Maguire. Tierney, he's been linked only with Arsenal, and I don't think we're looking to sign a left back this season. So Ceballos is definitely a possibility. Again, if it if we just start looking in that direction as well, as opposed to just the mainstream names that have been popping up, like James Madison, Bruno Fernandes, De Ligt. So these are just the mainstream names that every club is after, but smart signings are not the ones that everyone follows. Like, if you look at Liverpool, not everyone was after Salah, but Liverpool looked in that direction, considered the possibility, checked how that player would fit in their system, and accordingly. So if we want to be challenging again, we don't need to sign the biggest names. We need to start signing the suitable players that will help complement everyone in our team. So
yeah, that's why I'm not mad at those low-key signings that we've been linked with, because it's not clearly over the past 2 years we've been signing Falcao, Di Maria, and players like that, and it just doesn't. Sometimes it just doesn't work. Sometimes you need those role players that will just run into the ground for the team, the Longstaff link and some of those other low-key players. So let's see what happens.
And that's all we have time for this week. Thank you for listening in, and thanks to Aaron and Suraj for joining me. Listen in next week for our look into Manchester United's pre-season, our predictions, and what it could mean for the season ahead. We would also like to hear your opinions about what we should discuss on this show. So if you want to comment below on our YouTube video or on Twitter or Facebook, please send in the topics you'd like for us to discuss, and we'll hopefully get through that in the next show. Thanks for listening, and look forward to hearing from you.